Hey, what's up everybody? This is the start of another horror convention vlog, and for the second time in the span of a year, I am going to a con as a vendor and not just attending it for fun. So this is really exciting. The con is Spookella. I believe this is the first time they've held this particular con, though I think the people running it have run other things, and it's being held in Ocala, Florida. They have a pretty decent lineup considering, you know, being a first time con for this one. And as with the con in the fall, I am doing this with my friends Rob and Austin under the Stabbing Cabin Studios brand. And last time I was really, you know, mostly kind of there along for the ride. I had a few Phantasm Sentinels for sale, but beyond that I was kind of just, you know, holding down the fort with everybody else. This time I've got a bunch of replica axes and hammers that I've made that are like foam headed prop weapons. Got a couple more Sentinels. I've got some Michael Myers eye inserts that I'm bringing. So a lot more stuff than I had last time. It definitely feels a lot more worthy of doing this. You know, I've been helping Rob get some other masks done and stuff too. So he's got a lot of really cool stuff to bring and to sell at this. So I am very excited. So yeah, I guess follow along as I try to remember to film while selling stuff at the same time. So out in Ocala, where this convention is, isn't really all that far away from where they shot the original Jeepers Creepers, or at least parts of it. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna have time this weekend to go and check some of those places out. I was kind of hoping I would, but there's a really good chance I'm gonna be way too busy to get there during daylight hours. It's funny because I figured that would be one of those places, being in Florida, that would be easy to hit, but at least from where I live in Jacksonville and the places around like Central Florida that I usually go to, somehow Ocala is like an hour and a half, 2 hours away from every single other place that I usually am. So it's not particularly easy to get out there to go check out those places while I'm doing other things. However, I had not realized that our journey was going to bring us past another horror movie filming location. So up ahead here on the left is Silver Springs, and this is where they filmed scenes of the creature underwater for Revenge of the Creature, the second Creature from the Black Lagoon movie. I had actually filmed a video going through that place and a bunch of other locations, but unfortunately I filmed it during like the peak of COVID, and a lot of stuff wasn't as open as I wanted it to be, so I'm gonna have to go back and revisit a lot of spots.
So overall, I have to say this con was a blast. I had so much fun with it. It was just a really enjoyable time. So day one, basically after we finally got out to Ocala, the World Equestrian Center is where they held it. And I figured this was going to be like, you know, a couple horse barns or something. This thing was like a little mini city. It was ridiculous. And there's basically a expo center they had, which is this big long building that was just one giant hall, more or less, and that's where they had the event. So everything was in one room, no separate panel rooms or anything like that. Basically had the vendors kind of all in the middle of the room. On the extreme, I guess if you're going in from the front, the extreme right side was where all or most of the autographs were happening. All the way on the left side, there was a stage where they did the panels and a couple musical acts and things like that. And then kind of around the perimeter were some of the bigger exhibitors who had a lot of like photo op kind of things and stuff of that nature. And that included everything from like the Munsters Dragula car to a Mystery Machine car. It was a lot of cars. The real like legit Jeepers Creepers truck from the first movie. I think there was like the Ghostbusters group from, I don't know if it's the same group I see at every con, but there's like, I think it's Central Florida, and there might be some other locations in Florida, Ghostbusters groups that are, you know, basically cosplay groups, similar to like the 501st for Stormtroopers, but these are just Ghostbusters. They had a big display. There was like a Masters of the Universe photo op thing. There's a lot of cool things around the edges. Yeah, day one, we load everything in. We learned the hard way that the shelves we had are not meant to be transported in one piece because they come apart and then bend up like crazy when they're not supported fully. So that was a fun experience trying to put those stupid shelves together. But basically, we'd gotten a corner booth for this one. So we got to put up our banner. We had a rack of movies that were for sale. We had two large racks in the back, one that had all of Rob's masks for sale, and then one that was mostly my stuff with the axes and hammers and all that kind of stuff, the Sentinel props from Phantasm. And then in the middle, we had another rack that had t-shirts, vacuum form eye inserts, some prop knives. I think that was all we had on that one. I also had some figures for sale in the rack that I had the props on the lower levels of it. We also had 3 life-size displays. We had a Michael Myers. It was an original version Michael Myers. We had a part 3 Jason Voorhees, which is appropriate because the con started on Friday the 13th. And then we had a Dr. Loomis life-size, which was the hit of the booth, I think, for in terms of just people coming and taking photos. Loomis is a bit of a rare one in terms of seeing any representation of him at a convention, whether it be cosplay or otherwise. So I think people were really excited to see the Doctor. While we were setting up the booth, you know, before the con opened, there's just mostly vendors kind of roaming around. So, you know, we're not really paying attention to too much going on around us. And somebody says something to the effect of, oh, cool. Like, I think they complimented Dr. Loomis. And then Rob calls me over. It's like, is that Tom Morga who was just checking out our booth? Tom Morga being Jason Friday the 13th Part 5. He used the Dream sequence in Halloween 4 and the back of the truck in Texas Chainsaw 2. I think some of his most notable things. And yeah, it looked like it was him having just walked by, so that was kind of cool. As the day started, I actually sold probably my favorite axe that I had within like 30 minutes of the con opening for VIPs. I made 3, but I ended up having issues with one of them, so I didn't bring it. But I basically brought 2, what I called the Deadite Decapitator axes. The axes that I'm making are actually based off of the same model axe head that was used in the original Evil Dead. So all of them are technically kind of Evil Dead style, at least to begin with. But I painted some up that I called the Deadite Decapitators that were a little more leaning into that. They had some of like the chipping red paint on them, a lot of heavy blood on them. I did one in red and one in green. And the red one sold, yeah, like 30 minutes in. I was really happy. Then get one of those sales right off the bat. Another fun one from the day. I'm sorry, this is going to be kind of weird because like I realize that being in the vendor booth and having spent honestly most of my weekend at the vendor booth, I don't have as much like normal con experience stuff for this one. There's a little bit I'll get to later because it was on the last day, but a lot of this is like memorable sales, I guess, at this point. One of the other cool things, we had some Texas Chainsaw remake stuff. That's why I did the hammers the way I did them, the Texas size 10-pounder hammers. Rob had some Leatherface masks from the remake, and then he had a saw that was pretty similar to the one in the remake. Somebody ended up coming by and buying both the saw and a mask, so that was a pretty big memorable sale on the first date as well. First day we actually did better than we did the other 2 days, both in quantity and amount, which was interesting. Usually I think of a Friday being a slower day at a con. It's usually the shorter day at a con. But they were actually open, I think they opened around like 3:30 for VIP and 4 for general admission, and they were open until like 9 p.m. So it was they kind of made up for it starting later by having it run later. So yeah, it was a pretty packed day. It was really just me and Rob at the booth most of that day. Austin had to work, so it took him a little while to get there. I think he got there like maybe 30 minutes before it closed for the night. And yeah, once everything closed up for the night, we packed it up, went to Denny's and listened to somebody brag about getting out of prison from their booth, then went back to our Airbnb and played like 10 minutes of the Evil Dead game that just came out. So I only got to play a really tiny bit of the game. I'm sure I'll be checking more of that out probably tonight. So Saturday morning, I made my first purchase of the con, and this was a pretty cool looking little Krite. They had these at the booth next to us. We were sharing the one wall with them, and we got some really great neighbors for this con, honestly. We lucked out last time at Spooky Empire. We lucked out this time again. We were surrounded by great people. Sorry, the lighting here sucks, but it's a little Krite. He's all furry. He's gross looking. They had 3 different sizes. This was the medium, but I kind of like this one more. The bigger ones had like the arms on them and everything, and I thought it was just kind of cool having a little puffball one. That was a card for that one. Robbie Lopez, Crude Comics Inc. We knew that Saturday was going to be packed. I forget what they said, but there was like a really large number of tickets sold for the event. So that's why I bought the Krite first off, because I wanted to make sure I could still pick one that I wanted. It was majorly busy. There were people all over the place. The line for the freaking concession stand was a mile long at all times, I think. And it was pretty cool that day. Austin had brought the panel light that we were using for filming Executioner, and we actually shined that up against our masks and everything, just kind of bathed everything in light. We brought a Bluetooth speaker, so we were playing a variety of stuff, a lot of horror themes. I played some death metal. I think we played like 5 minutes of rap later on in the day. But there's a lot of like, kind of a mix of stuff. And it was kind of fun because we changed up the music throughout the day. It was interesting to watch people go by and see people reacting. Like, certain parts we had a lot of like 80s, kind of more electronic themes, John Carpenter-y kind of things and stuff in that vein. And it was just hilarious at points. Like people would just come up and just like be like dancing around the booth and stuff. Or you switch on to death metal and you just see people going down the aisles, like, rock it out to the fucking shit. So it was fun to kind of set the mood that way. And I just realized I forgot one of the most important pieces from Friday, but I'll bring it up here, is later in the day. I mentioned Tom Morga before. He was there obviously doing signings, and I guess he was doing some costume photo ops. Well, he comes running back over to the booth looking for a machete, because apparently he forgot to bring his to the con for his costume and he was weaponless. And we had a little silver machete that we had for sale, and we had almost sold it probably about 5 minutes before he came by. And basically he made a deal to just borrow it for his photo ops and then bring it back to our booth. So to jump forward a little bit, he used it all 3 days for his photo op. So if you got a costume photo op, that was our machete. It's kind of cool. And then it was Rob's machete, technically. At the end of the weekend, he ended up signing it.
With Jason, it was my absolute favorite, but everything he's done, man, is very inspirational. You just put Rob on his mind.
Rob ended up giving him one of our Jason hoods because his looked a little not quite the right size for him, and I think ours might be a little better fit. He didn't wear that for any of the photo ops because it was after all that we gave it to him, but yeah, he's got one of those now. And that was just a really kind of cool, surreal thing that happened. It was probably one of the highlights of the entire weekend for, I think, probably all of us. The interesting part with Saturday is that while it was really busy, towards the late afternoon, they had a couple musical performances. One was, I think they were both acoustic sets. Couldn't really tell. We were pretty far away from the stage, so it was kind of hard to hear a lot of what was playing. My notes here say Rice Wine Chills and Corky Taylor of Slapnuts.
So probably one of the best grunge bands in the world right now, Slapnuts.
So that would be Ice Nine Kills and Corey Taylor of Slipknot. I don't know, man. Like, Ice Nine Kills, I know people love them, but it not my thing. Whatever they were playing was like really low energy, and we kind of turned the music off for a little bit because we thought maybe like people would still want to be able to hear it. And after about a couple songs, we were just like, screw it, we're cranking the metal back up. And we kind of did the same when Corey Taylor was playing, and then we started hearing him play SpongeBob, and we just put our music back on. So once those bands were on, it kind of clear out the vendor floor a little bit. I kind of anticipated that was going to happen. And I think Ice Nine Kills at least was playing a set at a local club later that night. So I think a lot of people kind of headed out for that as well. So we wrapped up that day, went and got dinner, and we're going to play more Evil Dead. None of us were feeling up for it, so we watched like 30 minutes of The Exorcist, and that was about all we got through. Sunday was an interesting contrast to the rest of the weekend. It was significantly slower than both other days. On the plus side, that did give me the opportunity to go and get the autographs that I wanted to get for this con. So the first one I left outside of this room, and I know I'm going to hit the tripod and like totally mess this shot up if I try to go get it now, so I'll just go grab it towards the end of the video and cut it in here. Rob and I went to go meet Andrew Bryniarski, who played Leatherface in the remake at the beginning, and Rob gave him one of his masks, and I had him sign one of my Texas size 10-pounder hammers, which was really cool looking the way he signed it, so I'm really happy to have that. I'll have to find a way to display it. Next up, I went and met Mark Burnham, who played the new Leatherface in that Netflix Texas Chainsaw movie. He had some really cool shots that he had on his table, so I was really happy to grab this one. He's really brutal and bloody looking. Leatherfaces are always the hard ones to get. Bob Elmore was supposed to be at this con. I was really excited to have my Texas Chainsaw Part 2 costume ready, and then he canceled. So I'm glad I have Gunnar Hansen's autograph, but like getting Leatherface autographs has just been like a struggle for me. Next up was not one I got, but I want to throw in here, Rob brought one of his rehauled Halloween Kills masks and gave it to James Jude Courtney. So I kind of hung out and just to see the reaction and take some photos of them and all that. So that was really cool. Next up, if you watch any of these videos, you know my friend has me go and try to get autographs in this Alex Pardee Doppelganger's book. So one of the ones for this con that he needed was Ari Lehman, First Jason. It's like the last page of the book here, so it's kind of cool. He's also handing everybody 1 million Jason bucks. And I'll skip ahead one just because it's in my hand right now. Quinn Lord signed the Sam page. So that was pretty cool. And I, of course, got my Sam 8x10. You know, had to get that one because it's got the pumpkin that matches me. And then this one might be a little more obscure, but Wrinkles the Clown was there. And my friend had sent me with a photo he had printed out. And it looked cool digitally, but like once it actually printed out, it's kind of like really grainy and crappy looking. But it was like a security camera footage from the documentary. So, you could barely tell what it is, I think. So basically, I've discussed with my friend, like, if he had better photos to sign, to maybe get him to sign one of those instead. And he had this one at his table. But I showed him what I had, and he was like, I get what you're saying, but the security camera one's really cool, so pay for one, I'll give you both. So he signed both, got a photo with him, which was kind of cool. It was cool that he was willing to do both without having to charge extra money or anything like that. That was really neat. I also bought crap from our own booth, sadly enough. Austin had these, Wolfman and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, two of my favorite Universal horror movies on VHS, in great shape. So I wanted to pick these up. Thank my friend for dog sitting for me. I grabbed him the Horrorland rug. I think this is a Creepy Company item. Way too big to fit on camera here. But yeah, Horrorland rug. Pretty cool. One of those things you buy for somebody else and you're like, can I just keep it? But no, I'll give it to him. Probably. So the con ran until 7 o'clock on Sunday, which is pretty late compared to a lot of other cons. And a lot of the vendors started packing up way early because most of the guests had left by that point. There was really just dead in there. Guessing if they do this again. It sounds like they will, because it wasn't really, like, I feel weird talking about, like, you know, it being dead Sunday, but like the other 2 days were amazing, and even Sunday was good. It just was quieter than the other ones. I don't know if it's just because it's Ocala on a Sunday. We tried to walk into breakfast Sunday morning and it looked like we just got like the church group staring at us, and got a bunch of tattooed metalheads, horror fiends in a room, and it was weird. Like, you could hear the record scratch as we walked through the door of the diner. You know, everybody kind of just started packing up early, and I think they had leftover promotional items for the con, and they just kind of started handing them out towards the end of the day. I got this Spookella poster, which is pretty cool. It's like the original promo art that they did, I think, relatively early on. I also got the newer poster that they did, which is freaking amazing. I almost actually bought this thing and then got it for free, so that was kind of dope. It's really cool with all the guests on there and everything. Sorry, it's hard to show on camera here, though. So I don't know if that first one's going up on the wall, but the second one 100% is. I also got a beer koozie, and I think that's probably still in whatever pants I was wearing yesterday that I have thrown in the laundry, so I gotta dig those out. But it was just an orange koozie that said Spookella on it, but still cool. So we had the booth, the Creature Workshop, next to us. They have a lot of, mostly like trick-or-treat, you know, more mass-produced items, but Jonathan was there who does rehauls. I actually have one of his rehauls. Pardon my messy room, but my H40 right here did that one for me. And then I got it's a map of the Monroeville Mall from Dawn of the Dead. So this thing is definitely getting framed. This is freaking sweet. And speaking of which, I will show them closer up in a minute. This Kills mask I had actually given to Rob to rehaul for me, actually a while back, and I kept telling him not to make it a priority. And did it up to have on display for the weekend, and I finally got to take it home with me, which was awesome. And then we were kind of just, you know, sharing a PayPal account for the weekend, and I asked him if he could just keep the money and I could take this guy here, one of his H1 masks, which is just really awesome. I've had that Tots one up there forever and I hate it. And really happy to get that one added to my collection. So I went from, like, kind of owned a mask from him, but it was like a raw casting of a hood. That was the only mask I owned from him after getting all this tattoo work by him. And now I finally own some of his masks in my collection. So that was pretty cool. So it simultaneously feels like a lot and not that much, but it was a great time. It was an exhausting time, but so much fun. I'm a very lucky person to have badass friends that I could do this shit with and like get to have this kind of fun and be a part of this whole thing. And I don't know, this has me so hyped up for whatever's next. I'm really tired. This is the day after the con. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. I'm kind of out of it. But like, despite that, I'm sitting here writing down the things I want to do different next time we're at an event or at a con. The things I want to make for next time. Everything. I'm just ready to go for the next project because this has me so fueled up to do something fucking awesome. But yeah, I think that's it for this one. I'm not sure what our next event is. I think we were talking about maybe doing Spooky Empire or Phantasm. Not 100% sure at the moment. I was going to get back to working on Executioner or the slasher film we're doing. That's still an active pre-production, and I think we're getting ready to move into actual production here sooner than later, so that would be amazing. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. Later.